Congress has been caught. A reporter asked a congresswoman if her husband's stock purchase was based on inside information. Her response, 100% it was not. And if it was, he would have bought a lot more. She actually said that out loud on camera. And that answer tells you everything you need to know about how Washington really works. The rules are for you, not for them. But something just changed, and the people who got rich playing the system are starting to sweat. And what's at stake is whether elected officials can continue to get rich off information you don't have access to. Members of Congress sit on committees that control billions in spending. They know which contracts are coming. They know which industries will be regulated. They know what's going to happen before you do, and they trade stocks based on that knowledge. 3 Democrats on powerful spending committees just got exposed raking in gains up to 250% on stocks directly tied to the billions that they control. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Representative Susie Lee, Senator Mark Warner, a Republican congressman dumped $130,000 in Medicaid-linked stocks 7 days before voting to slash nearly $1 trillion from Medicaid. It's not a partisan problem. It's a Washington problem. And some breaking news in the critical minerals sector. Titanium now at the center of defense and industrial priorities. This metal is essential. An F-35 fighter jet is up to 40% titanium by weight. Now, these aircraft are actively deployed right now. And SAGA Metals is moving fast, drilling in strategic locations as nations race to secure supply chains. Trading as SAGMF in the U.S. and SAGA in Canada, this is a developing opportunity investors cannot ignore. The window is open. You need to see the full briefing that is linked in the description. Now, the Stop Insider Trading Act just advanced out of committee on a 7-4 vote. Under this bill, members of Congress, their spouses, and dependent children would be banned from purchasing publicly traded stocks. Now, they would have to disclose sales 7 days in advance. Speaker Mike Johnson says every member has a duty to restore the American people's trust, but critics are blasting the bill as a loophole-filled half measure that lawmakers keep existing stocks and trade through exemptions. Senators Ashley Moody and Kirsten Gillibrand introduced a stronger bipartisan bill that requires full divestment within 180 days. Nancy Mace said it plainly, Congress will not ban their own insider trading because both parties are too busy getting rich. DeSoto Wilson writes, congressional insider trading gives lawmaker a distinct advantage of using non-public information to garner a higher percentage of winning and profitable trades in various types of securities. This sets up the scandal perfectly, and let's see how these fears are spreading beyond Congress. Polymarket faces insider trading fears as Maduro trade shakes prediction markets. While prediction markets are facing scrutiny, individual corporate insiders are still making bold moves. And here's more proof. SMU, huge insider buy from a director even after 75% of the past 3 months. Look at these numbers. Can you even see them? Common stock. 114-2026. 1,600, 3,780, 7,820. Look at all that. Oh my goodness. Holy cow. $337. Is that per share? Amount of securities. Holy cow. Huge insider buy from a director, even after up 75%. Corporate insider buying is one thing, but when lawmakers do it with policy knowledge, that's where the real outrage begins. Senators Ashley Moody and Gillibrand announced the introduction of the bipartisan bill that would ban members of Congress, their immediate family members, from owning or trading individual stocks. It sounds promising, but we'll see. Some lawmakers think it's political theater. Nancy Mace, Congress won't ban their own stock trading because both parties are getting rich.
Know where we stand, by the way, on the insider trading ban in Congress? Well, right now, Jesse, I just heard from Hakeem Jeffries that he doesn't want to have his Democrats sign on to the legislation, even though 100 members of Congress, both Democrats and Republicans, have actually said that they want to support this coalition bill because of the fact that it does include the executive branch. But here's the interesting fact, Jesse. If Congress was required to adhere to the same standards that the executive branch is under, there would be no insider trading. And it is happening on both sides, and it needs to end. And so I'm formally calling on both Speaker Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries to do what they can, huddle if you need be, but come up with a consensus bill and put it on the floor before the end of the year, because 87% of Americans want this to end, and it has to for the sacred sanctity of our country.
All right, so when Democrats controlled Congress, the Republicans said they wanted to ban stock trading. And then when Republicans control the Congress, nothing happens. Got it. I think I understand what's going on here.
We're trying, but it's an uphill battle.
All right.
Sure.
Yeah. She's not a popular person in Congress right now. She's calling out the hypocrisy, but wait to hear about the existing laws that are supposedly preventing this. Julie Donuts writes, we already have the Stock Act of 2012 to stop Congress, which makes insider trading illegal. The 2012 Stock Act was meant to solve this, but new evidence shows the problem's gotten worse. Speaker Mike Johnson, every member of Congress has a duty to help restore American people's trust in this institution. House Republicans are taking a real positive, tangible step towards the Stop Insider Trading Act, a serious effort to crack down on abuses that, let's see.
But every member of this institution has a personal duty to do their part to restore the trust of
They're making too much money. Why would they want to vote again? Why would they want to vote for something like that?
Congress, and particularly as we begin our 250th year as a nation. And I think this is a really important theme. But along that line, Republicans are going to take an important step in our efforts to restore the people's faith in Congress. And one of those big issues is the Stop Inside Trading Act. Now, I want to tip my hat to Congressman Brian Stile. He's the chairman of our House Administration Committee, and he's done an excellent job navigating through the various provisions of this and all the members and making sure everybody's on board. Everybody wants to block and stop nefarious activity and insider trading, but it needed to be done in a thoughtful manner, and Brian Stiles done a great job. So members of our House Republican Conference have worked on this issue for years, and the result is a bill that I think we're going to be we'll be able to pass with I hope a wide bipartisan margin.
Yeah, a bipartisan margin, my ass. That's never going to happen. Holy cow. Speaker Johnson talks accountability, but explosive new data reveals how profitable these abuses have been for the Democrats. Mila Joy, 3 Dems and powerful spending committees just got exposed, raking in up to 250% gains on stock directly tied to the billions that they control. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Susie Lee, and Mark Warner. Let's see if we can find that clip for you. Oh my God. The billions that they control. Let's see, where's the, here it is. Here.
We noticed Representative, back in November, we noticed Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz buying stock in a company called Viasat. And it really caught our eye because it was the first time we'd seen her buy the stock, and it was the first time we'd seen any member buy the stock.
Okay, so Debbie Wasserman Schultz sits on the Appropriations Committee and the Subcommittee on Military Construction. That's not a good look right off the bat.
And then in December, it was announced that Viasat would be awarded part of like a $4 billion NASA contract, and the stock just rose.
Looks like they got another big contract also with the Department of Defense right after the NASA contract.
A couple years ago, we saw Representative Susie Lee buy stock in a company called Rheinmetall. Which is a German defense contractor, which, I mean, that rang alarm bells for us because it was a stock we hadn't really seen any members trade before, and obviously very tied into U.S. defense policy.
It's like they're doing a lot of work with the Army lately. Tank modernization, I bet there's big money in that.
Susie Lee sat on a committee on military construction, and since then the stock's risen like I think 250%. Last year we saw Senator Mark Wayne Mullen buy stock in a company called Badger Meter, which really caught our attention because Badger Meter makes automated water meters, and Senator Mark Wayne Mullen sits on the Senate Committee on Environment and Public Works, and we learned that the EPA had recently passed a mandate basically encouraging cities to switch to automated water meters. The year following the trade, Badger Meter stock rose around 40% before Senator Mark Wayne Mullen closed his position. Back in November, we noticed Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz buying stock.
Okay, we'll keep going here. These are not small gains we're talking about. We're seeing massive returns that would make Wall Street jealous. The public outcry is growing, but Republicans may have found a loophole-filled solution that protects their own interests. Let's see.
So Congress is finally voting to ban themselves from trading stocks, but there's a massive catch that makes this whole thing feel almost meaningless. If you want to understand why, you just have to take a look at this one chart of the stock trade volume of Senator John Hickenlooper. Over 3 years, he made just over 50 trades, which is really not that much, but he's worth over $30 million. You see, the new law is called the Stop Insider Trading Act, and on paper, it looks good. It stops members of Congress and their spouses from buying new individual stocks. And if you can't buy new stocks, you can't insider trade, right? Well, according to the reporters over at Sludge, there's a pretty serious loophole here. You see, this law doesn't force members of Congress to sell the individual stocks that they already own, and it doesn't put their assets in a blind trust. It kind of just freezes their portfolios in place. Some prominent Democrats have pointed out that this law mostly just protects the wealthiest members of Congress without really reforming the problem. But what do they mean by that? Well, that gets us back to Senator Hickenlooper. He doesn't trade much, but he holds a ton of stock. He walked into Congress with an already pretty robust stock portfolio, many tech stocks. But Hickenlooper sits on the subcommittee for consumer protection, technology, and data privacy. He's presided over hearings on data security standards, consumer protections, and risks of new technology. And while holding these stocks, he's not exactly been a critic of big tech. He failed to sign on to multiple antitrust bills that his colleagues supported. So it's no surprise then that Google, Apple, and Microsoft are among his top donors, because when these companies do well, he does well. How could he ignore that? Holding these stocks at all is a conflict of interest in and of itself, and Hickenlooper isn't remotely alone here. South Carolina House Rep Ralph Norman sits on the Financial Services Committee while holding over $1 million in shares of American banks. Texas Rep Craig Goldman, who sits on an energy subcommittee, holds up to $5.5 million in oil and gas companies. Tennessee Senator Bill Hagerty is chair of a subcommittee on financial services, but holds stock in major financial companies like Pinnacle Bank, Ares Capital, and bought stock in JP Morgan Chase and Blackstone since joining the Senate. So this bill doesn't really reform the system, it just locks in this current level of corruption. Real reforms like the Restore Trust in Congress Act would force members of Congress to actually sell their stocks or at least put them in a blind trust, which is really the only way to ensure that our representatives stop caring about share prices and start caring about us. The current bill fails to do that. It's not about stopping insider trading, it's about grandfathering it in and taking credit for fixing a problem without actually solving it.
So we already have laws against this. The Stock Act of 2012 made congressional insider trading illegal, but nobody enforced it. Nobody goes to jail, and the trades keep happening in plain sight. Representative Lisa McClain's husband bought stock in Elon Musk's XAI days before the Pentagon expanded its role. Her defense was a joke. The American people are watching their representatives get rich while telling them to trust the system. Well, that trust is gone. So this legalized corruption, and they do it right in front of you. Members of Congress write the laws that move markets, then trade stocks based on that, what they know is coming. They sit on committees that award contracts, then buy shares in companies that win. When caught, they laugh it off and say they would have bought more if it was really insider trading. The Stock Act was supposed to stop this. It didn't. Now the Stop Insider Trading Act is moving forward, but critics say it's full of loopholes designed to protect the guilty. Americans are done being told to trust institutions that exist to enrich the people running them. You see, the swamp protects itself, but the spotlight is now on and the pressure is building. So here is the question. Should members of Congress be banned from trading individual stocks? Yes or no? Answer in the comments. And check out the Next News merch shop, linked in the description.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.